Last time on Star Trek Kelvin. Following the events of Star Trek Into Darkness, the USS Enterprise has embarked on a new 5-year mission of discovery. En route to the unexplored star system of Mezzanine 216, Captain Kirk and his crew are about to encounter a new challenge for which nothing they have experienced thus far could possibly prepare them. And now, the story. As the quadrant still reels from the events of the Hobus supernova, Captain Jean-Luc Picard sits in his quarters, where he is visited by Q. There, Q reveals that Spock is alive, having fallen through a black hole into an alternate timeline. Though Q attempts to inform Picard of events in that timeline, Picard tells him that he does not believe that various timelines in the multiverse should have any knowledge of each other. Annoyed, Q reveals he had come to Picard for counsel, as Spock has set off a chain of events that will doom that timeline. But since the former captain is uninterested, Q takes his leave for the other timeline despite Picard's attempts to stop him. The year is 2261. The USS Enterprise has arrived at the system Mezzanines 216. Exiting onto the bridge, Spock briefs James T. Kirk on the system before Nyota Uhura detects a distress beacon coming from the SS Smallwood. As the Enterprise moves to assist, 5 Klingon vessels decloak and begin attacking the Enterprise from all sides. Briefly feeling a sense of déjà vu, Kirk orders the ship into battle before Hikaru Sulu perishes, and Uhura reports that the Smallwood's life support is failing. Spock takes control of Sulu's console before the warp core breaches, seconds after Uhura realizes that the Smallwood is Japanese translated into Kobayashi. Time suddenly reverses with Q now on the bridge. After Kirk's hand phases right through Q, the being teleports himself and Kirk off of the bridge. Q brings Kirk onto the hull of the saucer section, where he explains his nature to the captain. The test, as Kirk puts it, was an attempt to teach Kirk that no-win scenarios are a reality. Kirk is undaunted and reveals that no matter what, he does not believe in a no-win scenario. Q then takes them both back to 2260, where Kirk died saving the Enterprise. As the two watch, Q asks Kirk if this constitutes Kirk beating the ultimate no-win scenario, before revealing he will show Kirk a scenario where his failure is a certainty. When Kirk returns to the bridge, Pavel Chekhov informs him that the Enterprise has been hurled across the Alpha Quadrant. Uhura attempts to sync their chronometer with the nearest time beacon, but there aren't any. Ahead looms a large space station and several ships bearing down on the Enterprise. James T. Kirk immediately orders the USS Enterprise to red alert, as he orders an evasive course. The photon torpedoes of their foes, however, quickly prove too much for their shields, and Kirk orders them to warp. Hikaru Sulu attempts to engage the warp drive, but is unable to generate a warp field. Materializing, Q reveals that this is not the no-win scenario, but merely a prelude to the real one. Declaring that, from this point onward, he is but an observer, Q vanishes once again as confused Jem'Hadar troops beam aboard and slay a security officer and then take the ship hostage. With the Enterprise forcibly docked, Kirk is brought to Skran Dukat, the station's commander. Removing Kirk's shackles, Dukat speaks to him with great civility, revealing that the United Federation of Planets no longer exists in the 24th century. Though Kirk believes Dukat is colluding with Q, the Cardassian states that he has no knowledge of that being. Kirk is then thrown into a cell with Montgomery Scott and Nyota Uhura and their new best friend, Benjamin Sisko. Elsewhere on the station, Leonard McCoy and Spock discuss their predicament before Spock notes that their group of prisoners is comprised entirely of officers from the Science Division. On board the Enterprise, Dukat admires the ship's architecture before the USS Defiant warps in. In the cell, a Jem'Hadar enters, only to reveal himself to the Enterprise crew as Odo, a friend of Sisko's, who calls for transport back to the Defiant. As Kirk is unwilling to leave his crew behind, Sisko simply knocks him unconscious, and has them all beamed aboard the Defiant before it goes to warp. Awakening in the Defiant sickbay, Kirk finds Q in a doctor's uniform. Kirk insists that the events are not a game and that people's lives are at risk. Q revels that this is the point. For one to win, there must be something to lose. Sisko enters and reveals Dukat spoke truly about the Federation's demise, and says they are soon arriving at Earth, but reveals the planet has been conquered by the Klingons. This is the first 2 parts of the Q Gambit. This is a 6-part mini-series that has been produced by IDW Publishing. It was written by Mike Johnson, and it is illustrated by Tony Chastain. We're going to go ahead and do parts 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6 in the 2 subsequent videos and round this particular story off. But I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about this particular set of stories so far. What do you think is in store for the Enterprise crew? How do you think the United Federation of Planets was destroyed? And what the heck is really going on? What is Q really trying to show Kirk? What's going to be that ending no-win scenario type situation that perhaps Kirk and company will either have to overcome or just have to simply face? I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about this. Please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube if you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Twitter at RealCatWalski, and I will see all of you guys and gals next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!